Today's phone calls are brought to you by Kid and Play. Ain't gonna hurt nobody. I tell you, man, Kid and Play in the late 80s, all through the 90s, huge influence on me from the movies, obviously the music to the fashion. These guys had cartoons. They were absolutely everything and on top of the world, and still a major impact in the hip-hop community. What's up, everybody? I'm Dave Miranda. This is episode 132 of Just Give Me 5. I hope you guys are doing great. Continue to be amazing. We got a really awesome show lined up for you today. First things first, I need you to hit that like button. I need you to hit that subscribe. And I need you to spread the word about Just Give Me 5. All right. If you look behind me, you notice that we're in front of the legendary Brick House. Now, this has been a tremendously, incredible venue. Tons of hip-hop shows were here. I saw a lot. I was blessed to be able to perform at a lot. And, this will always be, an iconic spot over here in Phoenix, Arizona, man. So RIP to the Brick House. We had to come up over here and show love, man. Because it's Arizona history, right? Right. If you guys caught episode 131, though, you saw we had none other than my man, the one and only DJ Wiz of Kid and Play. And let me tell you, boy, that was a treat. You know what I'm saying? I don't personally know Wiz. We've never met in life, but I can already tell he's just a genuinely good human being, man. And even the people that from the Instagram clip, the IG clips that we were posting, people commenting, not only is he one of the dopest DJs, but he's one of the dopest human beings, period. And, that just speaks volumes, man, and just having him come on our platform, blessed like that. The clips, the episode's been doing really well, getting a lot of recognition. Run DMC liked the post on IG, for crying out loud. So we must be doing something right, you know what I mean? But, man, shout out to Wiz. It was just truly an honor to have you on our platform. And, man, let's just continue to keep this thing rocking. Make sure you guys watch episode 131. All right. But today's guest is not only a UFC vet, but he's also an Arizona legend. We're going to talk about what made him become a fighter in his early days in wrestling. We're also going to talk about him being in the UFC and some incredible fights he's had. We're also going to cover his coaching and everything he's got going on next, and so much more. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I present to you Frankie Saenz.
What's up, everybody? My name's Frankie Saenz, UFC vet. All I'm saying is just give me 5. Man, inspired me to become a fighter. Shoot, I was already a little bit older. I think I was 28, and Henry won the Olympics in Beijing, 2008. And, I think I've always kind of thought about fighting up to that point. And, I don't know, just him winning the Olympics kind of inspired me. Right. Just to get back in. And I was done with wrestling. I didn't want to wrestle. Mm-hmm. I wasn't done competing. I love to compete. Yeah. And I think that's what ultimately pushed me. It's oh man, I think I can still compete at this level.
And then seeing that, seeing him do that, that accomplishment, it's okay, we're kind of one and the same, you know what I mean? So it's and then, so now let's take it back even further, right? When did you start wrestling?
I started wrestling, we were talking about it earlier, but right. Desert Sands actually was the first stop.
Yeah, man.
I went there in middle school, so 7th, 8th grade.
Okay.
7th grade I went there, and I didn't wrestle, and my dad made me made me sign up for wrestling in 8th grade. He always used to tell me when I was younger, he's "You're gonna wrestle," and I'm "Yeah, I'm not gonna," to myself, I'm "Dude, I'm not gonna wrestle." Yeah. So 8th grade came around, and he's "Dude, you're signing up for the wrestling team.
Like it's here. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
I know.
What motivated that from him? Did he wrestle?
Yeah, my dad was a wrestler. He was always like, he didn't push me in wrestling when I was younger, but I was definitely around it,
Oh yeah.
to where, I went to different clubs and stuff and tried it out, got my ass kicked a little bit, which makes me not want to do it. I'm like, dude, I suck at this, dude. I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
So eventually he's like, you're going to start, in middle school.
Right.
So in 8th grade, he always had this thing where he's like, "You're wrestling now."
Wow. And and it's like, okay, so now here comes 8th grade. So you're wrestling at Desert Sands.
Yeah.
What was that like? Like just the start of all that. I'm sure it was just a lot of butterflies. You know what I mean? You're trying to figure things out. But how did that go?
Yeah, I mean, 8th grade, I sucked, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, just like anybody starting off in any kind of sport, right?
Right.
I was terrible. But my dad just, my dad's like one of those dads. It's like he pushes you,
Okay.
to where my dad was like kind of the coach in our neighborhood.
Okay.
Coach Little League, Coach Pop Warner.
Oh, all right. All
Yeah, so that was like everybody was afraid of my dad in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
Everybody knew my dad. It was like, oh,
Okay.
dude, he's a neighborhood coach.
Right.
And so once I started wrestling, like it wasn't just wrestling practice I would go to. Like, he made like a wrestling room in my garage. So we had like a little 1-car garage, and I had a mat in there.
Okay.
And we had a little weight set, treadmill.
Yeah.
I remember we had a pull-up bar. We
man.
had some dummies. Like we had like a calf raise machine.
Yeah.
I just remember like all these little machines in there. My
Yeah.
dad would just get probably from Park and Swap or a yard
Yeah,
sale
yeah,
or something like that.
yeah, right.
And so so every night I went to practice. Like I wrestled again at night.
Wow.
Hour, 2 hours every night.
He was like, "This is your life now."
Yeah, pretty
much,
much.
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much. It was like me and talking about my cousin Ronnie Stafford. We started about the same time, so we were the same weight, same age,
Okay.
everything. So we were like perfect wrestling partners for each
Oh
other.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So my dad's like, all right, well, I got 2 guys. Like
Yeah.
these guys are each other's wrestling partner. And he would take us everywhere. Like we wouldn't just practice there.
Yeah.
We'd go to like Joe Romero was a coach back then.
Mm-hmm.
He had practice at Westview in what was that, Avondale? Or West Phoenix out that
Yeah,
way. I think it's
yeah.
Avondale.
I believe so. Yeah.
And we'd do that 2 nights a week. We'd go to Moo Chang on like Dunlap and 7th Ave, like 2
Wow.
nights a week.
Right.
And then, we wrestled at home, the rest of the nights.
Wow, man.
So we had somewhere to go every night,
Yeah. Yeah.
at that point.
Yeah, you had a busy schedule.
Yeah.
So now that's 8th grade, right? So then you transitioned, and now you're entering high school, and I believe you went to Marcos Deniza, correct?
Yeah.
So what made you, growing up in Maryvale, what made your father want to have you transition to Marcos?
I think you just said it, man. I grew up in Maryvale. So my dad's like, hey, you're out of here. You're not going to stay in Maryvale. But I mean, I loved it. Like, that's what as a kid. You grew up in it. You're like, I don't know anything else. Like, this is, I didn't know I was in the hood. Like, I thought it was, I thought it was pretty cool, I thought everybody kind of lived how we lived.
Right.
So he's, once I got to high school, I had a friend that went, Richard Fiembris. He was, a couple times state placer, tough kid. Like, I knew him growing up.
Okay.
And he went to Marcos Ceniza, and he was a senior that year. So, we kind of had a ride, and it was kind of semi-convenient, to just carpool with him. Like, my mom would take me in the mornings. I go to his house.
Yeah.
And then we leave from his house and drive to Marcos every day.
Wow. So your pops was like, okay, well, he's going here, and he's a good kid. He's doing all right. All right, Frankie, I think we can take you here.
Yeah, I mean, we followed our coach, like Joe Romero. He was an All-American over
Yeah.
at Arizona State. And he coached there. And, like they had some good pieces, like Nori Yamamoto, 3-time state champ. He was like a Pride UFC fighter.
Yeah.
kind of the first guy who kind of started all the lightweights for me anyway. It's like my first inspiration into like fighting was watching him and, you know, being able to wrestle with him as a freshman and him transition into fighting. You know, I was like, man, you know, like when guys do it like around you, you know, it makes it like it's a little more real. You're like, oh, okay, I think I can do that. Right. So I don't know. I would follow him, watch him, you know, win these cool Dynamite and Pride fights and stuff. And he was real big in Japan. He moved back to Japan, and you know, so that was kind of a little inspiration for me.
Oh yeah, man. That's back when the UFC and the Pride were on cassette, man, or were on, or I'm sorry, video cassette. You know what I mean? Like back in the day. You know what I mean? Remember my pops? We would rent them at like Blockbuster. You know what I'm saying? In the '90s, man. You know when you had the Gracies and everyone was out. You know Ken Shamrock was the big deal back then. You know to see what it's become now is pretty incredible.
Yeah.
So man, you know, so going through Marco's, you know, what was your record in high school? Do you remember?
Wrestling. So all 4 years I wrestled varsity, and then I was 125 wins, 6 losses.
Wow, man. You wrestled varsity all 4 years?
Yeah.
Wow, man. Well, see, that speaks volumes right there, man. Being a ninth grader, you know, with all these big boys and just, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That was kind of the plan, I guess, you know, for my dad. So, like I was telling you earlier, I did 8th grade twice. And, you know,
elaborate on that for the people.
oh, man. So I was young, you know, I was a young kid. So when I was going to be a senior, I was going to graduate at 17. And my dad's like, dude, you need to mature. Like, you need to develop a little bit. So I passed 7th and 8th grade. And then my 8th grade year, you know, my dad's like, you're staying back in 8th grade. I'm like what? You know, I didn't want to. I'm like, dude, I don't want, no. You know, like all my friends are going up to high school. Like I'm going to high school. He's like, no, you're staying back. And I remember I had to transfer to Borman, which was, you know, a couple miles away. It was like a rival in Desert Sands back then. But because they wouldn't let me go back to Desert Sands.
Right.
So I ended up, you know, doing 8th grade 2 times.
Wow, man. That had to have been different, you know what I mean? You're going to like a rival school, you know what I mean? Was it pretty welcoming for you? I mean,
No, they hated me. Like I went in there and they're like, dude, what are you doing here? Kind of, yeah, you know, and all the, you know, I was on the wrestling team, so all the wrestlers were like, you know, they knew, you know, they knew where I was from and everything, and word got out pretty quick.
yeah.
You know, and plus I played Pop Warner, and you know that was kind of the rivals because I played in our neighborhood, you know, Pop Warner West.
Okay.
And these guys played on the other team because they lived in this other neighborhood.
Oh, so they were very familiar.
Yeah, and I'm like, and I'm like, oh, dude, you play for the, you know, we played for the Diamondbacks when I was a kid.
Yeah,
Like, we had Diamondbacks. Our football team was called Diamondbacks.
Yeah.
And so they're like, oh, dude, you're a Diamondback. And I was like, you know, just going to this school, and I played against them, you know, pretty much my whole life, Pop Warner. So, yeah, I mean, it was interesting, like, going in there and just being that guy. But, you know, I mean, after a while, like, you know, you're kind of one of their own. I played baseball, wrestle for them, you know, and then you just become teammates with everybody.
Can't beat them, join them, right?
Yeah, you know, they end up loving me, right? Oh, man, it was a long road, like, getting to the UFC. You know, it was just, you know, whenever you start fighting as an amateur, right? You get, I fought 3 times as an amateur. And I was, like I told you, like I was late. Like I had my first fight when I was 29.
Okay.
And, you know, I had 3 amateur fights, you know, all at like 155. 155. All my amateur fights were at 155.
Wow, man. Yeah.
And then, you know, I turned pro, you know, and had a couple pro fights. You know, I think I was at 145 when I started out.
Yeah.
And then, you know, once I fought for, I had a world, World Fighting Federation title.
Yeah,
For WFF. And then I fought Coalition of Combat, which was a big show back here, back then.
Right.
And that's when I realized that I wasn't a 45 pounder. Like, I had to go down to 135.
Okay.
You fight these guys and, you fight up a weight and they're just big, Like, I think the advantage is the weight cut.
For sure, man.
And just getting back up, getting your weight back on.
Yeah.
When the dudes are bigger, like, they're just a lot bigger fight night.
Right, right, exactly.
So I remember I had this fight, Coalition of Combat, and that was my last fight at 145. Because I was like, dude, these guys are too strong.
Yeah. Yeah. Beat myself up.
Yeah, like I'm getting beat up by these guys. So then I ended up dropping to 35.
Okay.
And my first fight, I fought for a title for King of the Cage.
Yeah, man.
At 135. And then, I think, I defended that title like 2 more times. And then I just knew I think I was on a 4-fight win streak at that point.
Right.
And I just wanted to wait and see if I could get, I was on that short list to get that UFC call.
Yeah, man.
So I had 4 wins in a row. I was just kind of sitting and waiting. They were trying to sign me again for King of the Cage, and I knew I just didn't want to at that point. I'm like,
you did
I'm just gonna ride it out, see if I can get in on some kind of short notice fight.
Absolutely.
And I got a call from my manager at the time, and he's like, "Hey man, you want to fight in 2 weeks, Bangor, Maine?"
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck yeah, dude.
Right. Yeah, dude.
I'm like, hell yeah. I remember I was way overweight too, because I was coming off injury and stuff. And
so you kind of laid up.
yeah, and I was back to training, but I wasn't like, in train mode.
Of course, yeah.
But, UFC fight, like, put you back in pretty quick. You're like, oh, dude, I'll melt.
Oh, man.
It's like 2 weeks, get down to 135, I'm like, let's do it. And, it was the first time ever working with a nutritionist at this point.
Okay.
Because I was just heavy, I'm like, dude, I need to lose a bunch of weight, like, fast, like 2 weeks. And,
Gosh, in 2 weeks, man.
Yeah.
Well, with wrestling, you're used to cutting.
Yeah, but
it's never been that heavy.
Yeah, not, and I did it different. Like wrestling, we're idiots. Like, we struggle.
Oh yeah, it's like suicide.
Yeah, it's like, dude, stop eating, stop drinking,
Sleeping with trash bags on you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You're just depleted for days,
Right.
and it's so dumb. Like, once I think about it, I'm like, oh, that was just dumb.
Yeah.
But yeah, just get on the right diet plan. Put me on a water loading plan.
Right.
Just more of just like greens and just real clean. Like, I ate clean all the way up until fight time.
Right.
Had a week training camp here, basically.
Yeah.
And then they flew me out to Bangor on Tuesday to fight on Saturday.
Wow, man.
So that's typically how it is. Like, once you get that call and you go, every UFC fight, they'll fly you out on Tuesday wherever you're going.
Yeah.
You'll stay there. You'll go in. They check in. They have a little office set up.
Yeah.
Do a little bit of signing posters. Get your schedule.
Right.
Weigh you in.
Yeah.
Show you where workout rooms are. That kind of stuff. And then set you up for fight week in the hotel.
Wow, man. What was going through your head at that when you got the call? What was going through your head?
I mean, excitement. Like, this is everything I've worked for.
Yeah, man.
Like, once you get into the fight game, like, UFC is always on the end of that list, right? Like, oh, dude, I want to get in the UFC, but not just get in. Like, I think I always had aspirations of, being the champ.
Yeah, you want to make a mark.
Yeah, or being the best in the world.
Right.
So, like, getting in is just the first step.
Totally.
And me being a little bit older, I think I was 30. I think I was 33, and then I think my birthday was 3 days before the actual fight card, so I turned 34, and then I fought like 3 days later.
Wow, man.
But so I got in pretty late.
Yeah, man.
So I knew, like, once I got in, like, I had to you know, freaking speed the process up if I wanted to do anything.
Right, right. You know, so now I just want to backtrack a quick minute. So it's like after high school, there was a gap I noticed there, right? What was the reason for that?
Let's see, I wrestled in high school, like my senior year. My sister passed away my senior year, and she was 15.
Oh man.
And I was like committed to University of Oklahoma at that time.
Right, right.
And, you know, I decided like I didn't want to go there. Like I want to stay home.
Yeah.
So then I ended up, you know, going to Arizona State. You know, got a scholarship there.
Yeah.
And I don't know, man. I didn't fulfill like what I wanted to wrestling. Like I just never. I don't know. I think I was just thinking about other things at that time. Like
Right.
you know, wasn't wrestling. Wrestling wasn't my focus. Like
Yeah.
you know, after my sister passed away.
Of course, man.
So I wrestled at Arizona State for 2 years. Took like a year off, and then transferred to Northern Colorado in Greeley.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so wrestled there pretty much a year, and the next year we got put on probation because they were going Division One. You know, so the whole reason I went out there was like, hey, they're gonna go Division One. We're not gonna get put on probation.
And
We're gonna be able to wrestle, and then you know, coach bullshitting me.
Yeah.
So went out there, wrestled, and then I was like, dude, I'm gonna get ready. We're gonna go D1. Like, hey man, I get down, and then like, boom, you're on probation for 4 years.
Wow.
You know, so I don't know.
So that's a damn.
Yeah, I just kind of got that ripped away. I'm like, dude, I don't want to transfer again.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know. I ended up just coming back home.
Okay.
You know, probably should have just stayed and wrestled, but I just didn't see a point.
Yeah.
You know, because you just like you can wrestle. There's still wrestling season, but you can't compete at nationals. Like you can't compete.
Yeah.
You know, at the stuff you wrestle for.
Of course, and you having that competitive spirit, that's just why am I gonna do it? You know?
Yeah. So I kind of did shitty, like wrestling in college. Like I didn't, you know, honestly, I always wanted to be like an All-American.
Yeah.
You know, coach. I always saw myself like coaching.
For sure.
You know, college or you know, having a high school team.
Yeah, man.
You know, was what I always envisioned for my future when I was younger.
Yeah, and ironically, that's what your father did.
Huh?
Coaching,
Yeah.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah.
it's like, yeah. At some point in our life, man, as sons, we try to emulate our fathers. You know what I mean? Like at some point, you know what I mean? It sometimes it just varies on whatever aspect it is, but sometimes it just happens naturally. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you having that, you know, subconsciously, not even knowing, it's like, well, you saw the influence. You know what I mean? Growing up, yeah. So it was like it was in you, man.
It's like making that impact in people's lives. You know, I think it drives you, especially from the neighborhood we're from.
Absolutely.
You know, it's an opportunity for those guys to get out of the neighborhood.
Definitely.
You know, through wrestling, through fighting, you know, whatever it is, but just getting that opportunity. Man, I mean, I've lost. So those are always tough.
Oh, yeah.
But you know, like, I don't know, probably like the biggest fight I had, like at the time, like, so I won my first one in Bangor.
Yep.
My second fight, I got matched up against the number 8 ranked guy in the world, Urijah Faber, and he's from Brazil.
Yeah.
And so I remember getting the call from my manager. It's like, hey man, I got you this fight. You're fighting Yuri Alcantara in Porto Alegre, Brazil.
Right.
I'm like, shit, dude.
Like, getting real now.
Yeah, I'm like, fight two? I'm fighting the number 8 ranked dude in the world, you know.
Yeah.
I guess they just threw me in the fire.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm like, all right. You know, I think when you fight, like one of my goals is always like, dude, I want to go to another country. Like I want to go fight, you know, where I'm the enemy, right, in this country, right? Like I always thought that was cool, like going somewhere, you know, almost like a Ivan Drago, Rocky kind of deal, you know, where everybody's hating you, booing you, like that kind of stuff. So I think I don't remember what I was, like a 700 to 1 or a plus 700 underdog, plus 800, something like that.
Wow.
you know, and I'm still, I think, top 10, one of the top 10 biggest upsets in the UFC. But I remember going out there, and we stayed out there a week. You know, I went to Brazil with my team. I actually went with Henry Cejudo. He was my, you know, one of my corners. My dad was one of my corners, and Roland Sillerop was like my head coach.
Okay.
You know, so we went out there, trained out there for the week. You know, I flew out a little bit early, a couple days early, just to acclimate because of the time difference and, you know, jet lag and everything.
Jet lag for sure. Yeah.
So, shoot, went out there, and man, I remember like I thought he didn't make weight when I saw him weigh in, you know, because I saw him in the back. Like whenever you show up, they used to have ceremonial weigh-ins. Right. So you get there, and everybody checks their weight. They're like, who needs to check their weight? And shit, every fighter needs to check their weight. So we're like, dude, let's go check our weight. I get back there, and I see he's overweight. Like, he happened to be, like, right after me. You know, and I saw the scale, and I was like, dude, he's overweight. You know, and I saw it.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, dude, I wonder what they're going to do because he's over. And so I go back and tell my coaches, like, I'm like, dude, he's overweight. Like, you know, whatever. And so we go up, and you know, it's a ceremonial weigh-in, so everybody's out there. They call you up stage. You know, you're up there, you weigh in. 136. I'm like, yeah, you know, whatever. And I get off the scale, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to watch this dude weigh in. They're going to tell this dude he didn't make it. Gets up there, stands on there, 136. And I'm like, what? You know, yeah, I'm like, what? He made it. Right. And I look back at the matchmaker who's back there, and he's like, oh, dude, he didn't make weight. And then he's like, I didn't see it. And I turn around. Wow. This dude's already pounding like a Pedialyte, you know. And I'm like, you know, I'm like, what? And I remember just pissed me off. Like, I was pissed. Right. You know, and I'm like, this.
You feel cheated.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah. I get it, you know, and then we face off, and then I was just like, dude, it's on.
Right.
It's on, dude. You know, like, and I remember that was just the fuel, right? Like, and then, you know, we go home, we ate at the best, like, Brazilian steakhouse in Brazil. It's like, oh, dude, it was awesome. Went there, fight day comes around. And I remember, like, we fought in this shitty arena. Like, it was like the Coliseum. Right. You know, but, like, say that say the Coliseum's been closed for 10 years. Yeah. Like, hey, they're going to have a show here, and they just opened it. Like, that's how it was.
Yeah.
Like, there was, like, you know, they put black tarps over everything, so you couldn't even see anything. Right. Back there, you're just like, why everything's in black tarps? They had no AC. So you're in there they just had big fans on you, like in the back, like in the warm up area, you know. I mean, it was shitty. It was the worst, dude. We're like, damn, we're all sweating, you know. We're like, dude, it's so hot back here, you know.
130 we're now.
Yeah. And I remember training with Henry back there, you know, and just feeling pretty good. Like, I'm like, all right, let's go out there. And like, just like I thought, you know, I'm behind the curtain, you know, so when you walk out the UFC, like, they put you behind this curtain. Yeah. And, you know, TVs are on, cameras are on you and stuff. And then they're like, boom, curtain pops open, like your walkout song's on. Yeah. And you walk out, and, you know, you got cameras in front of you, and, you know, your team and everybody's behind you. And you're walking out, and just like I thought, like, boo, like, you know, like, they're brutal in Brazil. Like, everybody hates you. Yeah, man. You know, you're American, they hate you. Yeah, they hate you even more, right? Walking through there. And then, you know, I go in the cage, whatever, move around, and then he comes in, and, you know, he's coming to, like, the country song or something. Everybody's cheering. Yeah, everybody's cheering for him, you know, and it was cool though, because I was pissed still, right? And I'm just like, dude, I'm gonna freaking tear this dude up. Yeah, right? Man. So I get in there, and he hits me. He kicks me to the body. Oh, it hurt. Like, I remember feeling that body kick, being like, oh, dude, I can't get kicked like that again. Otherwise, like, he's gonna beat me up. Like, like, he, you know, and he was a big dude, southpaw. Striker, you know, black belt in jiu-jitsu, like, three fight win streak. Yeah. You know, he's a killer, dude. Like, top 10 in the world. I'm just like, oh, dude, like, comes in, right? And you know, I just remember like I just took it to him. You know, I just overwhelmed him.
Yeah,
Like
man.
he had spots where he was just, he was tough, giving me like he's beat me up.
Yeah.
You know, I had some stitches and stuff like that, but I just ended up having to grind him out.
Right.
Ended up beating him up, a little more ground and pound, like fighting dirty, like
Yeah, man.
knees,
Right.
elbows,
Yeah,
that kind
dude.
of stuff. Taking him into deep water,
Yeah, man.
you
Because
know.
it was like borderline personal. You know what I mean? It's
Oh
like, dude,
yeah,
like, you know what I mean? What you cheated? You know what I mean? I'm
yeah.
gonna do what I gotta do. You know what I'm saying?
So I ended up winning a unanimous decision, in Brazil. Even after the fight, like I knew I beat him up, right? And
Right,
I'm
right.
like, but afterward, you always think like, did I do enough? Like, did I do enough?
Yeah.
I'm asking everybody like, did I win? We are in
Right.
Brazil. We're in Brazil.
Right.
So,
Right.
I wasn't sure still. And then, 30-27, 30-27, or whatever. And then
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, sweet. Then I knew I was like, all you got to do is get in the rankings. Like once you're in the rankings,
Yeah.
like then you're kind of open to fight anybody.
Absolutely, man.
Now
What was
you're
the crowd's reaction after you
honestly like I think I won some of the crowd over.
won some of them over?
Yeah, I think I just kept
Yeah, you saw the heart.
I just wouldn't stop. Like
Yeah.
I just stayed on them all fight,
Nice,
right?
man.
But yeah, like I won them over and we trained out there. I met some Brazilians. We trained at Team Nogueira when we were out there.
Yeah.
So I, met a bunch of fans and stuff, but,
Right.
made some fans, and that was a good time.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. I got to say, for me personally, the one where I was like, damn, Frankie doing it was when you fought Urijah Faber.
Oh yeah,
You know,
I mean the fight that I was talking about.
it was hell, but still, man, it was that. Talk about that, man.
I mean, I would have never got that opportunity if I wasn't ranked, right? So like beating that guy, and then I fought it another time after him, won that, so I was still ranked. I remember like the Uriah fight. I remember like reading an article that he was supposed to fight Brian Caraway back then. I don't know if you guys remember Brian
Yeah,
Caraway.
I do.
And Brian Caraway didn't want to fight him or for whatever reason.
Yeah, yeah.
And he was like, dude, I'm looking for an opponent. Because him and McGregor did the Ultimate Fighter show at that
That's
time.
right. That's right.
And so he wanted to fight on that card, like bad.
Yeah.
That was McGregor Aldo.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
And so, I saw it and I read this article and I'm like, I call my manager. I'm like, dude, you think I can fight him?
Right.
Like I'll fight him. And
Yeah.
my manager's like, it's a pretty good idea. So he called him, or he called, the matchmaker and Sean Shelby and shit. I got a call like 5 minutes later. It's like, dude, it's on.
Wow.
I was like, what?
Yeah.
And yeah, MGM.
Yeah.
Dude. Aldo McGregor.
Legendary. To this
yeah.
day, it's a legendary like.
Yeah, you still see it all the time, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Aldo or McGregor knocking out Aldo.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was on that card. But yeah, man, I think just going in there, like, 'cause I was a fan of Faber, like huge fan.
Yeah, man.
Growing up.
Absolutely.
He's a lightweight, WEC
Yeah.
champ, and I was just like, dude, yeah, I love this guy's a wrestler.
Right. Right.
Kind of everything.
It's like overall good dudes.
Yeah, everything that I was like, dude, I could freaking do that, right? Like
Absolutely.
I never thought I wanted to. Like I had a list of guys that I wanted to fight, and he was on it.
Yeah, man.
But I remember just meeting him too for the first time. We checked in,
Yeah.
and he was there. And I would always not talk to my opponents like before the fight. I'm like fuck you,
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Exactly.
Like that was my thought. And
You're
then
after, but-
yeah.
Yeah.
And he comes up, he's like, dude, what's up, Frankie? He's like, what's going on, dude? Like, wrestled at ASU. I wrestled, over here. He wrestled for, UC Davis in California.
Yeah.
And so we knew, like, we both wrestled Pac-10, so he knew, like, guys that I wrestled with and stuff. So then I was like,
Yeah.
damn, he's a nice guy.
Right. He's over there breaking
He's like probably playing mind games on me,
Yeah, you want some Kobe shit.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, what? Like I didn't want to talk to him. So we end up, we get in the cage, we want to fight, and I remember like being nervous behind the curtain before I walked out to fight him.
Okay.
Because I'm just like, shit, dude, I'm about to fight like one of my idols.
Yeah.
You know, like I love watching this dude
This is a
fight.
big crowd.
Yeah, it's huge, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's at the freaking legendary like MGM.
Oh, yeah.
Like so many freaking, you know,
yeah,
big
yeah.
fights
Yeah.
have been there.
Right.
And you know, I remember like screaming in the back of the curtain, like, ah, oh, like just because I couldn't believe it. I'm like, oh shit, I'm about to walk out. You know, right now.
That adrenaline.
Yeah. And it finally hit me like, oh, dude, it's here now. Like now, there's not a lot of time. It's here. I walk out and I walk in the cage. And I remember there was this one little thing where I was like walking around the cage, like I'm inside the cage now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh shit, is that the dude from Red Hot Chili Peppers? Like, you know, I'm like looking at, yeah.
Yeah, right.
And I'm like, dude, focus. Like, what are, yeah. And I'm just like, focus. What am I doing? You know, I remember having that thought in my head. I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I need to focus.
Right.
And then, you know, California Love comes on, and this dude starts walking out.
Right.
You know, and at that point, I'm like, all right, it's on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was a good fight. Like, you know, it was a close fight. Like, he caught me.
Very close.
First round was real close. You know, second round, he caught me with like a head kick and rocked me.
Yeah, man.
And I was just like I remember, like, I didn't remember, right? I remember, like, I was up against the cage, and it was funny because I was like, I woke up, like, I came to against the cage, and he was like elbowing me.
Yeah.
Boom, boom. And I was like, holy shit, dude, I gotta quit getting elbowed.
Yeah.
Right? And that was like my first thought.
Right.
And so I grabbed him, you know, I'm like, I clinched him up. Like, he had me up against the cage, so I clinched him. And I remember moving, like, trying to turn him into the cage.
Yeah,
and as I turned, like, my legs were gone. Like, my legs were wobbly.
Yeah, man.
You know, so I moved off, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
And I had to go back to the cage because that was the only thing that was holding me up.
Right.
And then, you know, just remember eating a couple, you know, and then I was trying to fight back. And then at that point, like, we kind of went off the cage a little bit, and he freaking threw me. And I was on my back, like, full mount, not full mount. He had me side mounted, like crucifix almost.
Yeah.
And then I ended up rolling him over, and then I got on top, and then that's when I started coming to again.
Yeah, man. Exactly.
You know, and then, like, I started trying to make a comeback.
I know, man. I know. See, I was watching that Killed on Kyrie and Warner. You know what I'm saying? I just remember we were just like, let's go, Frankie, let's go.
Oh, dude, I know. I remember, like, I remember, like, after the fight, I was like, it's over? You know, just because obviously I had a concussion.
Of course.
You know, and I just went into, you know, into freaking fight mode.
Yeah, man.
You know, muscle memory, like everything we were doing in fight camp, like, I just kind of did it, you know, and I remember in between rounds, like in between the second and third, I couldn't remember, like, I didn't hear shit my coaches were saying. Like, everything was just like, you know, in between that round, going out in the third, and then just having a close fight. But I knew, like, I got taken down, so I was like, man, I should have got a couple takedowns. I think I gave him too much respect. Yeah. That's what I learned from that fight, is, like, never give your guy too much respect.
True.
You know, because, shit, it cost me the fight. You know, I got my, you know, after fighting and stuff, I got my general contractor's license. So right now I'm a general contractor. Okay. You know, so I've been doing that a little bit, you know, just trying to build myself up. Yeah. So I'm in the infancy of that. Been in business for a year now. Okay. And shoot, I love coaching, right? So I still coach. I got a small little space over in Scottsdale, you know, where I do privates, coach a couple fighters. Yeah, man. You know, so I love that. I don't know if I'll ever quit doing that. Right. And I do a little commentary too. You know, a couple fight promotions, like Elite Fight Night out in Chicago, Indiana area. Mm-hmm. Like I do, you know, I do commentary for them, you know, and starting to pick up a little bit more gigs. Right. You know, I mean, shoot, what better way? Like, you sit cage side and tell what you see. you know, watching the fights and
Yeah,
stuff.
you got the knowledge. So
Yeah,
it's like, why
it's the
not,
best
you
seat in the house, dude. I'll take this all day. You're gonna pay me to come and watch fights this close,
know? Right.
and tell you what I see, you know?
Yeah. When did you know that it was time for you to, you know, with the UFC, that it was like, okay.
I don't know, man. I mean, I always knew like, well, before it was COVID, right? So before COVID,
Yeah.
you know, what I always said was like, hey, I'm gonna go travel the world and fight. Right? I'm gonna go fight.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to places I want to go.
Right.
You know, and just have fun trips. You know, go fight, end it like that.
Yeah, man.
And then COVID hit,
Right.
and yeah, and I freaking fought my last fight at the Apex,
Yeah.
which was terrible. Right? Like, so whenever you get into this prize fighting, whatever you call it, right?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you always think like, I want to fight in front of people, like in an arena, like fans, like that's the fun part.
Right.
You know, like doing all the work, coming out and fighting against people. Like just being on TV isn't the same.
Yeah.
You got to feed off the crowd.
For sure.
You know, and fighting in other countries, honestly, like the fan base is great. You know, they have a lot of knowledge of the sport.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, the wrestling, the takedowns, the clinch, like, you know, they all love that stuff, you know, in other countries. Like over here, they just want you to stand up and bang. Otherwise, boo, you know,
yeah,
it's boring.
Exactly.
You know, like they're,
So spoiled here.
yeah, it's like, no, we want them to freaking knock each other out, you
Yeah,
know,
man.
that kind of fight. Like over there, they have more appreciation of the art, you know.
Exactly.
So I always love fighting in other countries. Like I got to fight in Brazil, we talked about, Santiago, Chile, fought there. And then I got to travel like with some of my teammates, like been to Uruguay, Mexico City with Henry Cejudo, Halifax, Canada.
Yeah.
Like just cool places. Like a kid from Maryvale, like you know, I never would have been any of those places.
You lived the dream, bro.
Yeah, if it wasn't for fighting.
Right.
You know, so I got a chance to experience, you know, a lot of cool things. I mean, you know, I love it. Like just going, you know, like people you never would know, you know, come up to me and it's like, hey man, I really appreciate what you did. I love watching you fight. You know, or an occasional like, hey man, you inspired me, you know, to do whatever I'm doing now, or, you know, whatever. Just me being, you know, a little bit older, you know, coming from the neighborhood that I come from.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's the biggest thing is trying to inspire people, you know, to where we come from. You know, it's like, man, like not so much to be a fighter,
Right.
but just take risks.
Yeah, man.
You know,
Become something.
take risks. You know, and like all the people that supported me, like loved me. Every once in a while, I'll get like memories on my Facebook where I'm like, man, I had a lot of people like, you know, that were in my corner that really loved me and loved reaching out, asked if I was okay, and you know, I appreciate all that stuff. You know, to where, you know, I've always been a humble guy. You know, and I always try to give it back, right? And I treat people how I want to be treated.
Yeah, man.
You know, and that's kind of how I live my life. That's kind of how my kids are gonna live theirs. You know, is just be humble, work hard, you know, and your time will come. You know, when it gets to that point. Hey everybody, my name is Frankie Saenz, and that was my 5.
And there you have it, man. Shout out to Frankie Saenz, man. You know, I actually went to high school with Frankie at Marcos Zaniza back in the day. We didn't really know each other, though. He was a few years older than me, but he was a beast, man, you know, in wrestling back then, and obviously a beast in the UFC. And, man, shout out to you, my brother. You know, thank you so much. We appreciate you being on our platform, you know, and sharing your journey with us. Still blew my mind that you were living in Maryvale, driving all the way to Marcos every day, you know what I'm saying? But, hey, man, you got to do what you got to do. And had you not have done that, who knows how things would have went, right? So everything happens for a reason, man. And, you know, just, you know, you are a true UFC vet, man. You are a legend, you know, not only in our eyes, but to the fans and everybody that's supporting since day one. And, man, we just appreciate you, brother. So make sure you guys are following him on social media. And shout out to my brother Jimmy Nelson on the camera. Make sure you guys subscribe to that YouTube channel. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Let's get them numbers up, get everything rolling. And that's how we doing it, baby. Well, this was definitely one for the books. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, though. Until next time, stay tuned, stay blessed, stay healthy. Just give me 5, y'all.
Every